Okay, let's get started here. We have our workshop agenda item. It's on the comp plan. Before we get started, this was set up for 90 minutes. We're going to be talking about this comp plan for a long time. I like to see this probably as a teaser, right? Because we're going to get some information today. We're not going to do the 90 minutes, but I know there are going to be lots of other conversation that we will have around the comp plan. I just want to say, before we get started, the Kirk team, kudos to all you guys with all the work you've been doing around this comp plan, and we're definitely looking forward to it. So with that said, Kristen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, and we are so excited to be here. You all have in front of you a couple different informational items. We proactively printed the slides. Maybe we jinxed this, but we are going to skip over a lot of different things tonight because some of it was review and some of it was just more details about all of the work that we've been doing to get to the point that we are right now. And so if you take nothing else from tonight, I want you to know that we are here and we are here to answer questions. So if things come up as you're seeing deliverables released more generally, if you're seeing questions or have kind of like a gut check of like, I don't know if that really makes sense. Maybe like this is a little off. Reach out to us. We want to talk you through it. You all have my information. We are happy to meet, or if you want us back to the full council, we will do that at any time. Second big point is we are officially launching this project to the community June 1st, and that is our project launch and environmental impact statement, or EIS SEPA scoping period, and that'll run through the middle of July, just after Cornucopia Days ends. So we're going to talk to you about a lot of things. I'm joined today by our consultants, MIG, and it's Sue Gardner and Alex Dupy, and they are really the technical experts that are kind of the people who have done a lot of this analysis. You're going to see a lot of options for maps and information. A lot of this is driven because there's some state laws that have come out that are saying we need to look at things through different policy lenses and also look at maybe where there's disparities throughout the city or where there's differences. And so I'm going to kick it over to Sue to talk a little bit more about what we're doing. We're keeping it in presentation mode so that we can easily go to the slides we want. The first one is going to be our project schedule. These slides are really slow to load, so we'll see how that goes. Do you want to explain kind of project schedule and from there? Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us here. Really excited to introduce you or give you the light touch of the comprehensive plan and what we've done so far. So really the schedule, this is a simplified version of your printout, that process graphic. For the comprehensive plan update, it's really separated out into these 4 phases. We're anticipating 3 major stages of community engagement to correspond with the phases. Those are indicated with the yellow stars there. The reason why that 3rd star is highlighted red is as a part of that engagement phase, we will be coming back to you all to give you an update, but also have a joint working session with the Land Use and Planning Board. So we've done a lot of work on the backside, part of which is reviewing your 17 plans that guide the city. And those are listed on one of your handouts. We wanted to reassure you that we recognize all of the hard work that you have done because this comprehensive plan is the umbrella overarching plan. We wanted to make sure that all of the good work and the policies and the direction in those specific plans are then incorporated into the comprehensive plan update. So that's what you see there. We also did a regulatory audit finding, and kind of the high-level findings there that's laid out in the slide deck is that generally the comprehensive plan that has been adopted is consistent with the Growth Management Act. There are some things that need to be changed, such as responding to the required or the allocated growth targets for housing and employment. There are also some policy directions that we need to respond to as well. So some of the kind of the highlights, we did a baseline conditions and equity analysis. Some of the highlights is Kent is a younger city as compared to the region and King County. There are a few older folks. King County has significantly fewer households that speak a language other than English, 29% compared to Kent, which is 42%. Kent has a larger household size, a lower median household income, and then another interesting fact is that 4%, Kent has 4% higher of people without health insurance than King County. So what you see here is the existing land use and zoning map, and as you can see, the majority of the land area in Kent is designated as single family. So specifically SR6, which means that the maximum density is 6 units per acre. So you're going to want to start thinking about this as we go through this process, and we're asking these questions about growth and where growth is going to happen and how we're going to accommodate the additional or the required housing units as well as jobs. So I just wanted to emphasize that there's a lot of maps in here, and we do have, this is just a snippet, this is a sampling. We have a full-on analysis that's going to be sent to you all as a PDF, so it's going to be a book, a PDF book, and then there's also an interactive web map that will tell the story of what's happening in Kent and how the demographics is split out. So we did, oh, sorry.
I'm going to hide the notes part so the maps are a little bit bigger because it's a pretty, there you go.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So we did spend a lot of time looking at race, but that's not all we looked at. What we're presenting here is focused on race and income and poverty because that's what the state requirements are asking. Let's see. So this right here is a composite of all of the folks that identify as non-white based off of the U.S. Census. I'm going to flip through these pretty quickly here. So, sorry. So this is the distribution of population of folks that identify as white. The Asian demographic makes up about 1/4 of the city's population. The second largest minority group is Hispanic and Latino at 18%. You really start to see kind of the concentration of folks. And then folks that identify themselves as African American or Black make up about 13% in Kent. And as you can see, you start to see the difference in distribution. And then we also looked at the median household income. And then we also, oh, sorry.
Maybe can you go back to the slide, just talk a little bit about the circles there? I think that's important.
Oh, yeah. So the circles here, we wanted to show kind of just how stark the difference is between socioeconomic makeup. This is just looking at median household income. So you have certain areas of the city that has a extreme gap between median household incomes separated by a street. So this is census tracts on either side of 106th. One in the blue circle there is less than 48,000, whereas right across the street is about 2.5 times that in terms of household income. Anything you wanted to add?
Well, I'd say that aligns with some of the racial indicators that we've downloaded from the census information too. So it's important, we look at this in context with housing and land use and services, other elements. These are things that are required partly by the state to do, but also when we start to think about land use map, future land use planning and distribution of services and transportation. There are types of elements, critical facilities. These start to come into play when you think about it from a citywide perspective. And so, while that's contextual in one space, we do notice this in other parts of the community as well too. We'll continue to analyze and update this, but this is information to start to consider when we start to think about future plans as we move forward.
Alex. So we also looked at poverty levels as well. So this map here shows the percentage of those living in poverty across the city, as defined by the U.S. Census, with an overlay of the areas. So the dots are the census tracts with the highest 20% of BIPOC, and the line hatch, that diagonal line there, showed the lowest 20% of median household income. And I just want to point you to the red and yellow-orange circles. The red circles are a higher percentage of BIPOC with low median household income. And the yellow are the lower percentage of BIPOC, but with also low median household income.
One quick question, Councilmember Troutner, please.
Thank you, Council President. So looking at these maps and thinking of how our population is spread across the city, so when because I think of where the valley is, and you say there's a certain population there, I mean, how much of our, when you say it's a certain percentage, but how many people are living within that area versus, a neighborhood on the East Hill? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So do you consider that when you're doing your mapping?
So we just pulled, that is a level of analysis that we can do and that we can include in our baseline conditions. That is still in draft form, so it is one of the things that we can respond to in that. But in terms of the density of population, we don't explicitly look at that.
And so that's one thing, one reason we see it in an industrial area.
Right.
That comes up as very strong on the maps. What that means is that there may be fewer people within those areas, but that for this area in particular, those are areas that are poor, and the folks that live there are not making as much money elsewhere. However, when you look at census data, up at the census tract level, they do start to try to break that out by a general number of people living within that location, which is why you see in rural areas census tracts are huge compared to urban areas where they're smaller.
Thank you.
So the last map that I wanted to show here is the renter-occupied housing units. So looking at still the same set of circles, both areas are high poverty, are areas of high poverty. More people living in the red circles have a higher BIPOC concentration. They also have a higher instance of renting, whereas comparatively, if you look at the yellow circles, there's slightly more home ownership within those circles.
Can I ask a question?
Councilmember, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Quick question. What is our overall percent of home ownership versus renters in Kent? Did you guys look at that?
We did. I just don't know it off the top of my head.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but we can come back with that.
Okay, thank you.
And part of this too is, again, we're abbreviating and a lot of information already for this presentation. The map book has narrative with it as well that explains a bit of this more. We just wanted to highlight some of the key elements, and we'll continue. This is the first.
Our owner-occupied housing is 55%, and then the reverse is renter.
Okay, so 55% ownership within Kent, and what was King County?
So King County's is 56.6.
So it's similar to the county in terms of owner versus renter. So we'll continue to talk about this. This is just baseline work. It's essentially reporting some of the data as we start to think about what this means from, when you have to add, several thousand jobs or housing units. What does that look like within the community as it moves forward? We start to consider, gentrification, displacement. That is certainly a factor that's been identified, within Kent as something that we have to, address to the best degree practicable. But again, a very diverse community, but also, segregated by streets and by income and by different elements. And so it's something that, the community and Planning Commission City Council will have to wrestle with as we move forward.
So for the last thing that we wanted to touch on was the community engagement plan. So I think the highlights of this one, because I know that Kristen has come up to you all to talk about community engagement, we're really focusing on 3 primary outcomes. So the community is informed on the project goals and the possibilities of projects to be developed from that, because we are hoping to come out with a set of capital improvement projects through this process. A range of opportunities for collaborators to give input and feedback. We will be working with your local CBOs, school districts, youth programmers and servicers. The community see the results of their involvement at project milestones and in the plan. As a planner, I hate projects or plans that I spent so much time giving you all feedback on and then not seeing my responses or even myself in those plans. So it's really important for me and for Alex as well to make sure that the community sees themselves in this plan and that you all have a good document to help you with decisions or at least informed decisions, right? So where is this mouse? Finally, as Kristen said, we are doing officially kicking off the community outreach for phase 1, June 3rd at the International Festival. So we will be there. These are the other events that we will be attending. So if you're at any one of these, please show up. Come and say hi. You can see some of the activities that we have planned to get feedback. And then I'm really excited for this video that some of you might be recording after this.
And with this one, I want to highlight, we heard time and time again through Kent 101 participants, Land Use and Planning Board, and conversations with some businesses and community organizations. They all said, we hate the traditional public meeting. Like, do not make us come and look at all of your whiteboards at a specific time. It doesn't work. And so we took that to heart. So instead of one meeting, we're doing 7, 8, 9, 10, if you count all the cornucopia days. But we heard loud and clear, like, meet us where we're already going to be. And so if you all have additional recommendations as time goes on, we want to be there. This is we're creating something that's really portable so we can gather information. But then we also heard, I want to interact at the time that I want. So if it's 10 o'clock after I've put babies to bed, or it's 6 a.m. before I start my day and my coffee, we have a website there that has all of this information as well. And so we have a variety of ways that we're trying to reach the community, and we're also partnering with local businesses to put out flyers, as well as community-based organizations to do kind of a toolkit where they can go to the communities that they work with and also gather information on our behalf. So we have a lot of different ways, but I did want to say, if you're looking for the traditional community meeting, that will not be part of this phase. Down the road, we will have to do a little bit more traditional because we really need to dig in. It may look like focus groups. We're kind of still figuring out how to be responsive to the feedback from the community, but for this kickoff, we're trying to get as broad of a reach as possible. So just wanted to highlight that. Okay.
And it does include a survey as well.
Yes.
So we will be launching the survey around the same time.
Yes. And if the community does want to come talk to us, we are doing a public hearing, which is basically during a regular land use and planning board meeting where they can come put comments on the record officially if that's their preferred method instead of writing something down. So there are options, but we want to make sure you all are aware this will be going on. If you're at these events, come up and say hi. If you want to sit at the table and just hear as we're talking with people, you're welcome to join us. It's really something that it's really fun to hear people's ideas. I've already heard some really good ideas for some of our parks and other areas as well. So that's the big gist of what we're up to in the next couple months. Our project schedule, just as a reminder, summer is really going to be talking with the community and then taking that feedback, absorbing it, massaging it out, and then saying, here's what we heard, and here's where we're going with some of our priorities and values and how we can move into growth scenarios to accommodate the growth and make the growth work for us. And then again, early 2024, we'll let you all get through the mid-biennium budget, but early 2024, we want to bring you and Land Use and Planning Board together to have a collaborative workshop. It'll be less formal. We're going to work on it a little bit, but have it so that we all can sit down and discuss priorities and pros and cons of different scenarios together before we go out to the public for a final time. Anything else at this point? Okay, I want to highlight Sue grew up in Kent. She lives nearby, so she knows the city really well, which is a great advantage. I think we joke that we're her favorite city to work with, but it is really wonderful to have consultants that know our city and aren't trying to make a plan that's for either a cookie cutter or for a city that's nothing like us. And so they really I've appreciated their context, and they're really wanting to understand Kent even more than Sue already does. And just kind of have that of like, what does home look like for Kent residents, and what does this look like? So we can answer questions. We also understand that you probably want food and you have a long night ahead. So I'll open the floor. Any questions that you're dying to get off your chest? Otherwise, again, Kayleen and I are around, and we're happy to have one-on-ones or any other presentations.
Let me say, great presentation, first of all. I would say, really, I mean, there's a lot of things we do in the city, right? But I think at the end of the day is what we want to be when we grow up. So you're looking 5 and 10 and 15 years out. So we as council members, we have an opportunity to kind of shape on what this city will look like. So I want to say thanks to this entire team here. And I know this was just a quick introduction to us, but I do want to say, council member, this team is available anytime, any day. You can go over to the office, meet with them. I know they'll be happy to be able to share more information if needed, right? But I just want to say thank to you all. Really great presentation. And we got a long discussion going with this here, so this is the beginning, so there'll be a lot more coming about as we go forward.
We're gonna have a ton of data for you all to.
Yes.
To if you like data, great. If you don't like data, we can try to distill it down into regular, plain old, non-number information of here's the high points you need to know.
And once again, if I go to my council member, please feel free to reach out to this team here. I mean, they have the information. So with that said, Councilmember Michaud, please.
Thank you, Council President. I'll keep it super short. My question is about engagement. Kent Parks, when they did their comp plan, they put the plan out there on their website, and then people were able to comment on it on the website. It worked out really well to get more in-depth
Yes.
quality answers.
We just had a meeting with Parks to talk about, so we're doing Engagement HQ platform, which Parks pioneered. We're talking about other ways that we can have a standard system throughout the different departments that are all using this, and that is an exact conversation that we had last week in Vail. Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Fincher?
How many languages can this be translated into? Is it just our top 6, or can they choose the language, whatever the language is, kind of like through Windows?
Yeah, great question. So for our outreach, when we're at Kent International Festival, et cetera, we will have the top 5 languages for printed material translated. For the website, there's a built-in function, and you can choose the drop-down. It's not always perfect, but it gives a general sense of what it is. And that has probably 36 languages at least on it. It has quite a few languages that can be, so I can't replicate a drop down in Paper World, but the website does have drop down, which we can point people to as well.
Great, thank you.
As well as the survey. So the survey
yes.
will be translated as well.
Yes, thank you.
Any more questions, team? Once again, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you guys back, okay?
Thank you.
All right, that's our last presentation for today, so we adjourn. Thank you.